Welcome to Retro Scale Modelling. This is part 2 of the Trumpeter's Yonkers JU87A Stuka. In part 1 I built the engine block and put it into the fuselage. In part 2 I'll be building up the cockpit. So let's jump into this. Well, to kick off with, got to make up some seat belts. So I'm using River Aquacolor 89 beige, and I'm painting that on 2 strips of masking tape, and the 2 strips are stuck together, so the sticky ends are facing each other. So it ends up being like, once it's painted, it feels a bit leathery actually once it's painted. So I'm just painting this a beige colour to mimic a sort of canvasy look. For the base of the cockpit, I'm painting in River Aquacolor 77 Dust Grey. It's not the colour that the kit was calling for, but I prefer this darker colour. The City's rim is painted in River Aquacolor 90 Silver, but the overall chair is River Aquacolor 57 Grey. I'm using River Aquacolor 66 Olive Grey, and these are tops of little canisters that go in the side where the seats are going to be, but the overall colour is going to be the 57 Grey and the 90 Silver. River Aquacolor 08 Matte Black. This is for the banding around the steering column. The feet plate are going on now, and they're in River Aquacolor 91 Steel. These just slot in at the end here. There's a couple of recess points where they just push in. I'm using a tiny little red dot of 34 Italian Red River Aquacolor, and that's just for the trigger option on the steering column. I'm not sure whether it's meant to have one or not, but I always like to put one in. And then the steering lever column just slots in front of the bar that you see there. Next to go in is the couple of little canisters that I painted earlier. There's a couple of photo etch parts that I've got to put in. Unfortunately, there's not a plastic alternative for them, so you have to make them up and put them in. There were simple bends and folds in them to create the box shape. And next to was this support column. This is for the animation delivery system. So we have a series of small parts going in now to make up the bulkhead walls of the cockpit. This is the separation wall from the bomber position to the pilot position. As I say, there's one or two various things that go on, nothing too challenging. The colour palette I've chosen is the 57 Grey by River Aquacolor, but I've also used different colours for some of the smaller parts as well. I'm just fast forwarding through this part while I go through these colours, and they are Tamiya's X10 Gunmetal, then it's on to River Aquacolor 90 Silver, River Aquacolor 808 Matte Black, Tamiya's XF56 Metallic Grey, Mr. Hobby H28 Metallic Matte Metal Black, Tamiya's X24 Clear Yellow, and Tamiya's X26 Clear Red. Now, the reason why I'm not showing all these in too much great detail is because a lot of them are just little spots of colour. I forgot to mention one colour here, and that is Tamiya's X25 Clear Green. Yeah, so they're just little spots of colour going on the dials, nodes, and things like that. So to go through it all would take a long time, and as you can see there, I'm just putting in tiny little dots of the actual colour. It's now time to assemble, so the 2 bulkhead parts go on together. Well, they're more separate than bulkheads, but hopefully you'll know what I mean. Now, it's an odd shape, they don't fit flush as such. The part that backs onto the pilot seat sticks out a bit more to hold the side walls of the cockpit. So I would advise lining up the top. The top is flush, so if you line up the top first, then push it down towards the bottom, then it should be within position. I did have to put under a couple of bits of clamp to keep this in position as well. Mine was slightly bowed. Why that is, I don't know. Just probably how it was stored, I would imagine. Not every kit's going to be like that. So just be aware, you may have to clamp this up. The unit then fits in the central position of the bottom of the cockpit. It acts like a little step, hence why the two parts look slightly off when you put them together. It's worth noting that that's why I mentioned this particular part. So again, fast forwarding this part, there's not much to say really. The cockpit went together really well. There wasn't any major issues. The only difference I was doing was making these seat belts, and that was with using the masking tape that I painted, and then just bending it into shape and placing it on the chair, attaching it with a little bit of super glue. That was the only modification I actually made to the cockpit, and it's such a simple modification to make if you haven't done it before. And once they were in place, I just used a little bit of silver paint to dot in where the belt buckles and strap hinges would actually go. So again, I'm sure the moderate to experienced model maker has done this sort of thing before. If you're new to it, give it a go. It's really simple to do. The cockpit itself went together really well, as you can see there. That's the inner belt. Now I'm moving on to the walls, and I'm using Tamiya's Weathering Master Series and C, and I'm using the gunmetal component of this, and I'm taking my brush sharpener and I'm just rubbing over the ridges of the walls of the cockpit. Now the side walls were painted in the grey colour, the 57 colour, yeah. And this just makes the details stand out a little bit more. And it's the same with the other parts that's gone in as well. Every now and again I'll just put a little bit of weathering in where needed, just to highlight the part so it stands out a bit more. The side walls were built pretty much the same way as the actual cockpit. There's various little parts that you put on, from flywheels to control levers and so on. Just put your way through them. As I said before, I tend to take a group of parts that's due to go on for the next step, take them off the sprue once they've been roughly painted, lay them out in the order that they're going on, and once it's all dry and ready to go on, then just place them on. For me, this is a quicker way of doing it. It saves a lot of time with drying time, because you know it's all dried. Once it's painted, then you can place them on, and then while that's drying you can actually move on to the next step. I'll fast forward this again just so that I can fit it all in. Just be aware that you will need a steady hand as well to put these in. As you can see, the parts, even though it's a 1/24 scale, the parts can be quite small still, so you may need to have your tweezers on hand to put this in, and keep on referring to the instructions. It's quite easy to get carried away with it and put the parts in and realise you put them in the wrong place. In fact, that is what I did. I noticed on the cockpit I put one of the levers in the wrong way around, but I'll get to that in a moment. Some of the painting that I did wasn't as good as that I normally like it. However, after looking at it, because it's painted in the darker colours, it did actually have a sort of worn look to it. So I'm going to leave it in there. Could be a little bit messy, some may say, but I think it actually works. It gives a wear and tear feel to it. So, bring the video back to the normal speed now, and the area that I have put in wrong is where the bomb is, and I'm putting this bracket on here to hold another lever or machine gun. I'm not sure exactly what it is, but the one that's sticking up just up from my finger is actually on the wrong side. So I had to take that off and place it onto the other side. Now, because it was an independent part and it wasn't really attached to anything critical, I was able to prise it off. And just before I put on the actual sidewall, the strip of the little part, the little strip there that you see lying on the kitchen towel, that's the lever it's going to be attached to the part that went wrong. Now the sidewall went on very easily. There is a couple of grooves where it just fits onto the bulkhead, and the bottom sits nice and square on the base of the cockpit. So this is the crossbeam part that's going in. It sits on the mechanism to deliver in the animation, and there's a big bar rod thing that it sits on, and this is the rod thing is the part that I had to reposition, because it would have been diagonally across, and it just didn't look right. Wouldn't get away with it. It was my fault. I just didn't look at the instructions. So that's why really you should always refer to them. Well, I'm going to be bringing part 2 to a close. In part 3 I'll be placing the cockpit into the fuselage and bonding the fuselage together. Don't know how far I'll get, but we'll see how that goes. So in the meantime, if you haven't done so already, why don't you check out the channel for my other builds. Subscribe to the channel for updates, including the upcoming updates for this build. Leave a comment as well, and of course hit that like button. But for now, thank you all very much for watching. Bye bye.